In today's video, we're going to look at how to remove a Joomla site. Today's Watch Me Work live stream. Hello there, Joomla fans. Hey there, Joomla fans. Tim Davis here. I'm a Joomla fan too, and thanks for tuning in to Watch Me Work live stream number 20 here on Twitch, and then later on a replay on the YouTube channel. If you are watching the replay on the YouTube channel, please like and subscribe to this channel to get updates about more information, tutorials, and live streams happening on the channel. Let's head on over to the stream, and we're going to start to talk about this. Periodically, you need to remove a Joomla site. It may be an install you have somewhere on your server where you are working on a practice site or working on a site that you're going to transfer to another place and make go live. Or maybe in this case, it's a project that just failed miserably and you're not going to renew the domain, and you need to, you want to just remove it. So I'm going to start out by removing this particular site. It's actually the only site in the hosting account. So if I wanted to remove it, all I need to do is cancel that hosting account. And then it would just delete everything and be gone. But before we even do that, there's some things we need to consider about saving or doing just in case we need to go back to the site if we think down the road there's something that we've forgotten. And so the first thing that I want to say is that for sure, make sure that you have backed up any sites that you are removing. Even let's say there's a site, if you have a client or you have a site for a business that you're just not going to do anymore, and you're making widgets, you're selling widgets, the widgets are no longer popular, you figure you're done. 2 years down the road, you find out, oh, those widgets are coming back, they're really popular, or they're popular in another country. I wish I still had that site. Just go and get your backup, reinstall it, update it, and you'll save yourself a lot of time. For me, in this site, there's some information and some coding that a friend did for me that I would not want to lose. And I've already saved that, and I'll talk about that in a second. But so basically it comes down to this. When you are going to remove a Joomla site, just make sure you have a backup and that you've got everything you want from it. The backup saves you from losing things that maybe you forgot to get. So let me tell you just a quick story about CSC Cleaner. This is a tool that was developed with my idea and my friend's programming, and it was to help strip out the time codes in closed captions for YouTube videos so you could use them in content. And last year I just sunk like a whole month of my life into getting this project going. I was sure it's going to be the next thing since sliced bread, but it turned out that there's somebody who already sliced the bread differently and in a better way. So it really did flop. So I'm not going to renew this domain, but I do want to back it up. So first of all, let me just change to full screen here, because I see that I have the wrong screen waiting up here for me in the back end of the site. All right, there we go. First of all, back up your site. And to do that, use Akeeba Backup. There's lots of tutorials on the channel that talk about Akeeba Backup. And in fact, I will place a link to those in the description of the video below. But basically, we're just going to back up Akeeba Backup, and it should go pretty fast. While Akeeba Backup is taking place, I'm going to go in and just also make sure, let's see here, let's, I just need another tab open so I can go to the content. I have already gone in, did this last night getting ready for the live stream, but do a couple of things that I needed to save. And one was, for instance, this clean tool beta test. Go in and just grab some of the content that you need in order to move it and move it over to another Joomla site, or store it in a Word file or a text file somewhere, just so that you have all that information that you need. And so here's the code for what we were doing here, and for this particular page, which really ends up just looking like this right here. Oh, there is the code. Oh, actually, this is a lot of code because I'm using Regular Labs Sorcerer. So this is code put in the HTML view. Anyways, just copy what you need. Also, check out where things are that you need. So there's a couple of graphics that we had here, images/graphics/small-1.png. So I went and I downloaded those graphics as well into a folder on my computer. I just saved the stuff that I needed. Then there was also another, some other codes in here, some programming that my friend did that I have, that I've also saved off of the server. So go in and make sure you get what you want. Now, part of what you're going to want to do for removing your Joomla site is go into the control panel for wherever it's hosted. It might, as I said, in this case, this is a web page that is just the only page hosted on the hosting account. But go to wherever the hosting account is, and you want to find the location for those files too. That's going to be helpful for downloading some things as well. So if we go into File Manager here in the, and this is a cPanel hosting environment, those images I was looking for were images, graphics, and there they are, small 1 PNG, small 2 handshake, and you can basically select those and right click and then download them to where you want them on your computer. Also, the programming that my friend did was living somewhere here. Oh, that's process.php and process-sandbox.php. My friend passed away in October from cancer just a few weeks before his 50th birthday, so it was kind of a sad thing for me to see this date, February 16th, 2018. We met in a coffee shop around that time to go over some of the software and talk about this project, and it just brings back memories. He was well into his cancer treatment at that point, which unfortunately did not work. Anyway, so once you have all of these files in all the things that you want, the little bits that you want, that you don't want to have to reinstall the site to get out of the Akeeba backup, then go to where your backup has completed. As you'll see, this is completed, and copy the backup, download the backup to your computer, the most recent one that you just did. Here we are, January the 9th, and I'm going to, now I have this viewed remotely, so I already have a backup because I had this sent to my Dropbox file. But if we bring this back from the Dropbox file to this place here, it won't take very long, then you can download it directly from Akeeba. And again, check out those tutorials that are on the YouTube channel for how to use Akeeba Backup with your Joomla install. All right, we'll fetch that back, that download. The next thing that we want to do is, because if we just delete the files for the install right here, there's still the matter of the database that is with the hosting account. And if the database is, if you have a bunch of installs or a bunch of databases in your hosting account, you want to make sure you delete the right one and not the wrong one. And the way to find out what database, if you don't remember, or to make double sure, is to go to the configuration.php file, right click, and you can view that. Now, the other thing that you could do in order to find that, the name of the file and I believe the user, would be just to go into System and Global Configuration. You would go to Server and you would see, there you go, the database username is ccc_cleanme, and the database name is ccc_cleanme. So we don't even need to go into the database manager, into configuration in the file manager to see that. If you do, the information's there, as if you're familiar with configuration.php, just scroll down and you will see there is the database, ccc_cleanme, and also somewhere down here there is you'll find the user, and you'll even find the password, which I don't need to hide right now because I'm actually removing this site right here, so it won't be a problem. Okay, so here we go. Let's go back to here, the backup. Okay. I'm going to click on that file there now and download this back up to my site. File name unspecified. That looks kind of hinky, doesn't it? Let's refresh this page here. There we go. Let's use this download. That's going to be better because we want a name for the file. Yes, I want to download it. There we go. That's better. If it says unspecified, don't trust that file. Okay, now here we go. That is downloaded to my computer. Next, we can go and at this point we can remove the files first, or we can remove the database first. Why don't we remove the files first? Okay, configuration.php. All right, let's close that. And here is the file manager. Now this particular Joomla site lives in the public HTML folder. So all I need to do is select everything from administrator down to the end. So I selected that administrator folder. I held shift on my keyboard, scrolled down, and clicked the tab. Left clicked on the final file. And I can now right click. Now before I do that, I know that I can just delete everything in this folder because it's the only thing in this hosting account. If you have other things that you've stored on your server or in your hosting account, or you've used it for other things, you want to be super careful that you're not selecting something that you don't want to delete. For instance, this file up here, .wellknown, it's a folder that's used for the SSL certificate check when it's renewed for this domain. Not a big deal if I delete it now because, excuse me, because I'm just getting rid of this site. Okay, so that means that we can just right click on here. Look at that, my hard drive's almost full. Get that message down in the bottom right hand corner. You can't see it behind my picture, but so I'm just going to right click and click delete. And I'm going to confirm. I'm going to skip the trash. And that's going to be wiped out super quick. And now when we go up to closed caption cleaner, I'm going to refresh and those files are gone. Now notice you can see the index. You can see what's in this folder because I've taken everything out. What you want to do next, if this is a site, this is a hosting account that you're leaving up, go back into your public HTML folder and create a new file, plus call it index.html. Now we're going to right click on that and edit, and we're just going to type a message. Hello, is it me you're looking for? Save that, and now when we go back and refresh that domain, hello, is it me you're looking for? And just that simple little file will create a huge obstacle for hackers without leaving that folder open. All right, so we've taken care of the files. Now the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take care of the database, and to do that we'll go back into the cPanel main. And we're going to go into the hosting account, go down to databases, and go to MySQL databases right down here. And you'll see that really there are only two databases. There's only one database for this whole hosting account. And so there's two things to remove, database and user. Now, it is possible if you have multiple databases in your hosting account that you're using one user for them. It's not good practice because if one gets hacked, if your user gets hacked, then you have you've given access to a bunch of other databases. But also in this case, if I had 4 databases that were all using the user clean me, and I say, well, I don't need clean me database anymore, and I delete it, and then I get rid of the user, I'll break all the other sites and programs that are dependent on that database, or on that user, or yes, the user and database. You could recreate the user with the same password, but then it just becomes a pain. So to delete a database, simply go to the database, and of course, click delete. Delete database. And we'll go back, we'll go down, and we will delete the user like that. And now we have no database, we have no user, we have no files, and basically for all intents and purpose, we have removed the Joomla site from that server now, from that account. Now there's a couple of things that we could still talk about, and I have a few notes here. For instance, so you might have cron jobs. If you were running Akeeba backup using a cron job, that would still continue to run in your control panel. So you would want to check out any cron jobs that you have. You would want to, the domain is still there in that account, so it's still activated. You might want to go into cPanel or put an htaccess file that redirects any calls to that domain to another place, to another page, to another one of your sites. And you might, I'm just thinking too, that after I remove this domain from the, once I remove this account, I could still take the domain and add it to another account as a part domain, because this domain is still live for like another 5 or 6 weeks. So just on the outside chance that someone were going to find it in Google and be interested in it, they could, it would still pop up somewhere on another site where I redirect it. Now I'm not going to do that, and that sort of speaks to something we were talking about last week on January 2nd. I'm just going to adjust my camera here. Last week on January 2nd in our 2019 Success Collab, when we were talking about and sharing ideas how to streamline our lives, our digital lives, our Joomla activities, our businesses in 2019. And one of my big things for this year was to get over myself. And part of what getting over myself is involved for me is this failed project that we can now no longer even see on the site there because we just removed it. And that is because I put a lot of time and effort. I probably put about $1,000 in software and hosting and experimenting with things and buying the affiliate program. I had this all set up, and I was actually pretty happy about the work that I did on this site. But when I realized that it was a flop, and that I actually needed to be working on things that brought money in, not cost money that wasn't going to come back, I just had to get over myself, and I just had to accept that this was something that hadn't really that hadn't worked, and move on to something else. Sometimes I learned this lesson a long time ago in another business that I tried to start with a different friend, and when it didn't work, I stayed in it too long trying to make it work. And eventually it reached the point where I had so much money invested and so much time, I thought it's got to work. And so I ended up sinking and wasting a lot more in it. Another friend of mine who was aware of what was going on, he said something very wise. He said, sometimes the first money that you lose is the cheapest money. I think that's the saying. Actually, it might not be. But anyways, basically, when you're only a little bit into a project, or when it's clear that something's not going to work, get out fast, and you're saving actually all the time and money that you would have by just emotionally pouring everything in just for emotional reasons. So the first money lost is the cheapest money lost, perhaps. Man, I wish my memory was better. I could probably quote that very freely in a number of other places a number of times, but it's just escaping me now. But basically, as much as emotionally I still have some attachment to this project and wish that it had worked and feel bad and kind of want to say, well, I'm going to leave it around just in case, who knows. I really need to just declutter my brain and accept that failure and move on. Now, one thing that I am going to do is I'm going to take that script, I'm going to take that page that my friend programmed in this little project. I will put it on my cybersalt.com site, and I'm just going to put it on there as sort of a little memorial page to my friend. The script does work, and in that way, it being there could be something that catches someone's attention. It could be something that leads to another lead, or someone who has a similar idea or something. Who knows? But mostly I just wanted to remember the experience and remember that I was working on that project with my friend as well. And so I'm gonna do that, put that on my site. But then I've got to move on to other things that I am doing. All right, so I'm going to fire up the Zoom call here, and I have another Joomla site that I can remove, and this one is much more entangled in the into the fabric of a different hosting account. So this is Watch Me Work live stream, so it's a much more casual atmosphere. We're just kind of working away and hanging out together. So if you were watching this just to figure out how to remove a Joomla site from a web hosting account, you've probably already disappeared already. But we'll continue on, and if anybody is out there lurking that wants to join in a Zoom call, let me just fire that up right now. I'll paste the link in chat. Start. Oh, I have a meeting that's currently in progress. How did I? Interesting. That meeting's been going for a long time, probably from yesterday. All right. Okay, so here we are over here. I just need to make that full screen, invite, copy the URL, and find the window that pops into right here, which is this Twitch thing here. If you want to jump in on Zoom, here I'll even turn on the speakers here so I can hear. There's the way to do it. And as I check out which camera angle we're looking at here, let's go back to here, and let's go and remove another site, another Joomla site that's a little more entangled. All right, now I have it on a screen that you can't see. I want to go into the control panel for that one. And let's see, here we go. Yeah, so why don't I close these other windows here on the main screen. Global configuration, and that, and the new tab. So here is the control panel for basic Joomla. And as you will see, I have a bunch of Joomla installs inside public HTML, and I'm slowly moving them over to subdomains as well, so that they're not all nested inside of each other. The issue of nested Joomla sites, so a Joomla install inside of a folder that's within a Joomla install, is that if one of your sites gets hacked or compromised, all your sites get hacked or compromised. So keep them in separate folders that are outside of each other. But as we go to public HTML, you'll see I've got behold thou art hacked.basic Joomla. We've got Helix 3, that's an install for a Helix 3 tutorial I did for someone that was struggling with something a while ago. Plain Joomla broken, plain Joomla, rocket theme, so, and a bunch of things. So, and then we can see down this left-hand side, if I close this, we'll see I've moved a number of things over. Like I have rocket theme.basic Joomla over. Regular labs. Let's remove this Rick August one, because that is a test one I did a while ago for a friend. And yeah, it's actually in there. So what we're going to do is I'm going to see if I can bring that up. Basic Joomla. Rick August is my friend from smartdrivetest.com, and I probably was fixing up his site on my server to try something. And so Rick August. We will go there. Yep. Oh, oops, can't find that page. Let's go to /administrator. This might not be the best example. Administrator. No, that site's not happening there. Okay. Did I get the folder wrong or the name? Oh, Rick August PhD. That would help. /RICKAUGUST PhD /administrator. Okay. Now it's guessing something for me. No. Let's see. I'm going to put this to full screen while I try a couple of usernames to see if that will help. Hello, Mary. How is the meeting going? I think it's going all right. I just removed a Joomla site that was sitting by itself alone in a hosting account. And now I'm going to go and remove a Joomla site that's in a hosting account with tons of others. It's really kind of nested down in there. So it is going well. How is your day going? All right, so I'm just going to log into this site here. See if that lets me in. Nope. Oh, okay. Oh, and you know what? I couldn't see the LOL. How is that meeting going? Yeah, that was super long. I wonder. I don't remember which meeting that was. The last Zoom meeting that I was in and meeting with someone, it might have been Mondays. I can't see how that's still going though, because I've rebooted my computer since then. So maybe somewhere out in the Zoom world, that thing was still going. But it was not going on my computer. All right, I'm going to have an orange piece here. I got cut off from breakfast this morning because a client called just before I went live. Mary says, you're correct. I had to take a phone call, so I missed my question. My question about how your day was going? All right, so I am trying to log into this site here. Give one more try here. I'm going to probably get blocked out anyways. Pretty fast here if I keep failing here. No, so here's what we're going to do. Switch back to this screen. I think so. It is going good so far for your day. Good. Hi-oh! Good to see you again. All right, let's see what's happening here. By the way, there's the Zoom link again. I guess I'm going to reset the password for that particular website. So let's see, how shall I do this? I'm going to switch to full screen. I just don't want to give away any information that I shouldn't give away. And we're going to go to PHP MyAdmin. And let's see, I've got lots of those databases there. All right, so that will be fine. I also need to go into File Manager and go into that folder and check out what the password is, which database he is using as well. So let me just go into here and I'll get this open and I'll cover these steps for those of you that are watching along. I'm going to edit that. All right, so this one, don't give away any passwords. Okay, so I see it's the database named Rick August. Okay, so we're removing his. I don't need to log into the site now because I went into configuration.php in the folder that his site is installed in. So it's in rickaugust.phd, and because I couldn't log into the Joomla site because I don't know the password, I don't need it because I don't need to go in the site. I'm just going to delete it. Then I could go and open configuration.php and look to see what the password is named. Now earlier I said make sure you back up files and get anything that you need from sites before you delete them. and back them up with Akeeba backup. But this is just a site that I moved in very quickly and did some work on, and I've moved to his site, and I know for sure that I don't need this. It's running on his server. So all I need to do to remove him here is go up a level to the folder that he is in, up to public HTML, go down to Rick August folder, right click, and I'm going to delete, and I am going to skip the trash and do it permanently. And then, as I just switched to full screen, I'll go over to the control panel to databases, my SQL databases. All right, here we are back in here. And looking in the configuration file, I noticed that his database was called Rick August. And as I look in here, there is a database user called BACN_Rick. But I actually do not see Rick August here, but that's because I have so many databases, it's not showing. I need to move over a page. Or I could search for a name and filter there. There we go. There's the database that I'm going to remove. I delete that. And then I confirm, yes, delete that database and go back. And then I go down to the users, and there is way down here at the bottom a user BASICJew_Rick. I will delete that, delete the user, and I'll go back. Now I know that I didn't have any cron jobs running on that site. I didn't need any content from it, so I just needed to find out what the specific database was. And the user for that database. I know that there's only one user created for that, and then so I delete the database user, the database, and the folder that had his install in it, and took care of it that way. So that was a pretty clean cut. Now you'll also notice maybe when you're looking at these databases here, I've got a lot there named JOS 1, JOS 10, JOS 11, and those are all installs from Installatron. So why don't we use Installatron to remove a site here? Up here in the right hand top right, you can filter for things that you want to jump to in cPanel. So I'm going to go to the possible reasons why you're not seeing this page. That's not working. All right, let's go home. And let's go down to software, and there's the Installatron applications installer. I guess jumping to it from an off page did not work. And so you'll see Installatron does a quick install of Joomla and many other programs. Another one is Softaculous, maybe on your web hosting, with your web hosting company, they offer you that. And also, I don't know, Fantastico, I don't know if Fantastico is still around. Fantastico is actually how I ended up finding Mambo many, many years ago, which then, of course, forked into Joomla. So I was just playing around with the installer to see what there is that I could put on. So let's head on down here, and let's see what will we remove. I also want to go into the file manager. What have I not moved over to the side that I don't need anymore? All right. Regular Labs tutorial site, no. Rocket theme, my clean portal, so clean. And I'm going to look here. When you look, it just shows you where the install is and what folder it's installed in as well. There's Behold Thou Art Hacked, where I keep hacked files for tutorials. I just add them to this website here. So, and that's already moved. Behold Thou Art Hacked, and that's where its root is. So actually, I can go into this folder here in public HTML. Behold Thou Art Hacked.BasicJoomla. That directory is empty. I don't need that folder. So I'm going to right click and delete it, just as a way of cleaning up. But why don't we remove, that's for Phil. Have I moved Phil's site over? I had a problem and I created a site for Phil to go on and do some work for me, Phil Taylor. Do I have for Phil? No. All right. So I can always recreate this in a subdirectory. So I'm going to go to Phil's basic Joomla fix-it site, and I'm going to select the uninstall. Now, first of all, I'm going to go click on the gear here. No, that wasn't your phone. Are you talking, Vinny? I don't think you're talking, are you? Are you in Zoom here? Because I have my microphone up. So that was my phone dinging there. Back to meeting. There's only one in here, which is fine. I just want to make sure, because before I've had problems and you were talking away, and I missed out on all the rich wisdom and comments that you were saying because I couldn't hear them. All right, so here in Installatron, we have a title. It shows the information. And then we can go on files and tables. And basically, Installatron, when you install a program, or at least with Joomla, it creates a new database and a new user, which is why they're numbered the way that they are, which I think is kind of not hackable, but you could go out there and look for databases that are named based on a number or something, and the user's always the same number. So if it's guessable, it's not as secure as it could be. But anyway, so he is Joomla Joss6 and the username. This is pretty safe to just uninstall, because like I said, they make one username and one table database per site. But I have had it before where I have updated sites, and I forget exactly what the step was, but I updated sites, and then I went into here and I removed something, and it actually removed the table, and there was confusion. So again, you always need to be, much like my description there, again, you always need to be making sure that everything is straight and set, which of course is why you have backups. Now I'm not going to back this site up because I know what it is and I don't need anything from it. So at this point, just like on the other screen, I could click uninstall, and then here shows the site, Phil's basic Joomla fix-it site, and click uninstall, and it's gone. We can go back to the file manager here. Vinny, you say that you don't repeat. Did I say that you repeat yourself? I'm going to refresh this file page here, and we'll see that Phil's fix-it site is gone. Now, I see here I have rockettheme.basicjoomla.com. So I've obviously created a subdomain for that to be moved over. But I also have in public HTML this rocket theme folder, and it only has a temp in it. So I can clean that up too. So let's delete that. All right, so there's a third Joomla site that we have removed today. I'm going to put this terrible fonted chat up window up there. Yeah, basically the basic principles, as I said before, for removing a Joomla site are: make sure that you have what you want out of the Joomla site. Any images, any specific articles or content that you want to move somewhere else. Next, back up your site with Akeeba, and then download the backup so that you have it, so that if there's something you didn't get out that you wanted, you can at least go back and reinstall it and get what you wanted. Or if down the road the site becomes important or needed again, you could install it, and you saved yourself a lot of work instead of thinking like, oh, I had a whole site like that, I could have just built on it. And then what else have I got for my steps here? Yeah, remove the files from your server, remove the database, remove the user, and being super careful that the user is not the user for that database is not the user for other databases. Also, I guess in a very, 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 very rare case, your your database could be used by a couple of programs as well, but that would be super rare. Like you might have some information that another program accesses that database to get that information, but that's very rare. I've never done that. I have a client that I might be doing that with down the road. We want to have a mobile app that can access the database of courses that people have passed. So remove the user, and then just remember other things like cron jobs. Remove the domain off your hosting account if it's there with a bunch of other domains, and then think about what to do while that domain is still active. Are you going to park it in another hosting account, or are you just going to forget about it and let the whole thing die? All right, we have Vinny says he'd tell me, but then he'd be repeating himself. Yeah, he told me what he meant. And then so then your site will be removed, and you can continue on with your organizing of your life. Now, I thought I would report in. If you guys have any other ideas too, if you've thought of anything else that should be tackled about when removing a Joomla site, by all means put it in chat or come on Zoom and mention it. Now, so moving on from that topic, I thought that I would report in on some of the successes that I'm having with my plans. Excuse me, I'll just eat an orange here with you. The successes with my 2019 success plans. So one of the things that I mentioned for 2019 that I was doing was I was unfollowing some more people on Facebook. This is something that I do every now and then. But I unfollow people whose posts just kind of aggravated me or weren't giving me that real zing when I was watching, when I would read them, or stuff that the kind of stuff they posted was just like, it became a distraction. So I'm way less distracted by Facebook because I'm getting way less new things to read. And I'm still on the hunt for things. Oh, somebody posts and it's like, oh yeah, I don't need to follow them. Now, unfollowing someone isn't the same as unfriending them, so they don't find out that you're not getting their feed. And, it's just Facebook, so that's fine. I know sometimes I've had people say, oh, did you see such and such? And I said, they'll tell me something. Oh, I didn't know that. Say, well, I put it on Facebook. I just say, well, I didn't see that post. So that is working well. No, Vinny, you did not get unfollowed. You don't post very much either. No, you did not get unfollowed yet. So that's working out well. The other thing too is that we talked about dealing with BACN, BACN. That's the email that you don't. It's not spam. It's not unsolicited. It's email that you get because you asked for it, and maybe you're going to read it later. So we talked about updates from the server, or warnings, or like login notifications. And it says, oh. Whenever, like for instance, when I log into the control panel for my hosting, I get a note saying, hey, so-and-so logged in from this IP. So I have a filter set up that any emails that say alert, a login alert and have my IP in them, they just get deleted. I never see them, and that's doing it in Joomla. Hyle says, you are a mod. Hyle, you're a mod as well. Mary's a mod. Everybody has swords in this chat. We could have quite the sword fight. So one day I sat down to check my email, and I thought, oh, something must be broken because I don't have any new mail. And I realized, oh, wow, that's working really well because a lot of the BACN had been dealt with. It's in the trash. And on Gmail, it's in the trash for 30 days. So if something comes up, and like if, for instance, it's this DMARC report, which is something to do with email. When I send out my mailings, I get a thing from Yahoo giving a report of how much mail I sent to them and what was successful. I've never really figured out the use for them, but everybody's hot to trot about it in the email world. So I set it up on my server. But if Yahoo were to say, oh, you've been sending too much spam, or I got blocked, I could then go into the trash and look and see what their latest reports are and try to figure out what's going. But I don't need to see them every day because they're only in case there's a problem. I don't need all those emails saying, yeah, everything's good, everything's good. Especially once you set up DMARC, you get it from Yahoo and Google. And man, my friend's site the other day I set it up for, he got one from mail.ru, if you can believe it, from Russia. I mean, that's a huge spamming thing. You get so much spam through that. But maybe that's the Yahoo of Russia. Anyways, so my email is way down, and that is pretty cool. So that's been a much less of a distraction. What if some of you have been trying some of those things? Feel free to put it in chat or mention what success you've been having. Now, another thing that and I don't have my notes from last week, and Vinny did suggest that I should put down some bullet points or something. Maybe I'll put some time codes to some of the points in the description of that video. I started scheduling when I would work on things. So that's been working pretty well. And also creating sort of processes. So last week after Watch Me Work live stream, I immediately downloaded the video. I immediately edited it for YouTube. I uploaded it to YouTube, and I lined it up in order to go out in 2 days' time. Plus, I set up the social media to alert everyone in 2 days' time. I did all of that right away, so it was done and out of my head. And that was really, really good. So I'm going to do that again today. I've blocked Wednesday not only for Watch Me Work live stream from 11 in the morning to I say about 1 o'clock in the afternoon my time, so 2 hours. But I just know that after that, on Wednesdays is when I get that video finished and ready and lined up for Friday to go on YouTube. So that was really good. Vinny says that I've added a bunch of filters on your email. You've added a bunch of filters on your email. I had to move a window to see everything there. Yeah, so that's great. Yeah, just those little distractions. Have you guys ever heard or seen the discussion or the topic about how many decisions we can make in a given day? My wife would tell you this about me. I hate it when plans change. In a sense, it's not that I'm not rigid and don't like things to change. And if today I had an appointment this afternoon and someone called up and says I can't make it, that would be fine. But I can't stand rapid change. So for instance, if you were to be coming to my house today and we were going to see something on the computer, and then we're going to go out for coffee, and then I'd say bye to you, and then on the way home I would go get gas, and then I would pick up, I would plan my route for the day, which is great. I like having that in place. I think a lot of people do that. But then if you called up and said, oh, you couldn't meet here at a certain time, but you could later and for the coffee, and then come back to here, I would think, okay, well, I will go and get gas. I'll do this, go around. I'll meet up for coffee. We'll come back here, and that'll be great. And then if a little while later it was like, if someone else said, oh, can you do something else? And I think, oh, I could squeeze that in after get gas. And then, anyways, eventually that really drives me crazy. So there is this idea that our brains can only make so many significant decisions in a day. Another thing is that if you say to me, do you want to go to the park this afternoon? And I say, yes, I'll go to the park this afternoon. And then you say, or do you want to go to the beach? And I go, oh yeah, the beach would be fine. Well, we could always go for a walk in the forest. I start to think, look, let's just pick one. Because that rapid decision making in my mind or being presented with choices, I just don't. I think part of it is because I'm not a particularly need to have precise everything. Like I'm going to take 2 hours and get this done perfectly. I keep things going, which is why I like computers, because you can automate them. So you do something great. It's you sign up. You get the tweet ready to go out at 3 o'clock in the morning on Friday about the new Watch Me Work live stream, which is up on YouTube. Great, it's done. I forget about it. I don't want to think, oh, I got to come back to here and do this and that, or I just type it manually and get it all right and think it. I just want it to happen. So, long story short, too late, as all of mine are. Apparently, if I understand correctly, President Obama mostly had all suits of one color, so that he didn't have to choose which suit he was going to wear in the morning, just to simplify things. There's someone who's got a lot of decisions to make during the day. He's not going to waste his brain energy on which suit to wear. So I just think that cutting down on distractions and on BACN and unsubscribing from emails you don't want to get any more updates from sites that maybe you bought something from in the past or whatever. It just, when you look at the emails, like, do I need this? Should I save it? What should I do? It's just wearing a raw spot on the part of our brain that makes decisions. Vinny says that's why he always buys white socks. Cool. Another good point. Yeah, So I think that's probably good for us. Now, listen, anybody out there been watching the new Netflix show Tidying with Marie Kondo, I think her name is? She's a Japanese woman who's moved to the States. Anyways, it's on tidying. If you haven't watched that, check it out. Netflix is a distraction. Yes, so is the internet. She has a method of tidying. Tidying. Mary says, nope, it looked boring. If you think that cluttering or messiness creates a drain on your brain or that, I think it's a really interesting show to watch. It's not like those hoarder shows. These are not people that have these are not people that for emotional reasons are hanging on to things, because hoarding is a psychological thing. These are people that are just not tidy and are overwhelmed by the untidiness of their lives and the things that they have. And it's just getting in the way of them having a simple life. So a simpler life. So I don't know if you guys have watched anything. John says there's no good reason ever for White Sox. They would beg to differ with you in Chicago. That's the name of the Chicago White Sox in the baseball team. What was this? Oh, minimalism. People that are really cutting down on the things that they have and living a minimalistic life because they find that possessions become a distraction for them. I think a good example is like when I was showing you the tour of the studio here. Wire management is something that that Vinny has told me I'm terrible at, and I thought, yeah, I need to do better on that. Because if you have all your wires lined up nicely and organized, it at least gives me a good feeling. And when it's all chaotic and hanging all over, it's like, oh, what a rat's nest. Now, maybe some people don't notice it. Everybody's different. Who's colorblind? John, are you colorblind? Did I forget that somehow? And if I did, it's just because color makes no difference to me. So if there's things that are super messy, if they really aggravate you, or maybe you don't even notice they aggravate you. Anyways, so we watched 2 of those episodes of Tidying, and the other day I went upstairs. That's on Sunday afternoon. I went upstairs and Susan had one of her dresser drawers where she puts all kinds of trinkets and old anniversary cards and birthday cards, all kinds of things. There's a lot in there. She had it all spread out and she was dealing with it, and she tidied it out pretty good, got rid of a bunch of things. And then I went through one of my dresser drawers, and I have a little wooden box on top of my dresser where I have some keepsakes in that, and I opened that up, and I found a bunch of stuff like matchbooks that were just nothing. And so I was actually cleaning that out, and I felt pretty good afterwards. It says someone who wears white socks might be colorblind. Okay. I actually have favorite socks I get from Mark's Work Warehouse here in Canada. I think that's in the States as well. They're so nice that the other day I threw out one sock from one pair and one sock from another pair, different colors, blue and black. And I thought, oh, but these are such nice socks and I like them. These other two socks are good. So I just wear the mix match now. Yeah, I noticed your typing's off a little bit. That's because you've been sitting there so long. You need to set up your stand-up desk, Vinny, so that you can stretch and be more agile at your typing. Anyways, so back to tidying, back to success in 2019. I've really been trying to be more organized. I've been started my little checklist or what I called the flight manual to remind myself what to do when I'm making a thumbnail for the videos or going through Maintenance Monday. And also, as I've been learning QuickBooks Online, they have a tool called TSheets. It's free to use for with one employee. So I'm the only employee in my business. So I set it up for myself. So not only am I using that to track time that is billable, but when I work on things just to do with my business, or things that I'm not doing for a client, or things that aren't making money directly, I've started keeping track of that time as well and billing it to myself. And I have it set up so that it's $0 an hour because I have no money to give myself. But I'm doing that just so that as a way of better understanding where my non-income time is going, so that I can weigh out some things I'm doing and still consider what the long-term possibility is that they're going to generate some income, or am I spending too much time on them and should kind of cut them back a bit just to bring some balance. And one of the things that's happened since tracking more time is I feel better about my days because I might, especially in the last week or so, I might work, I might only be able to bill for a couple of hours in a given day. But I've been spending so much time learning this software, accounting software, QuickBooks Online, and setting up accounts and this and that and applying for that and then moving. Oh, power just flickered here. Looks like we're still going. Good. All sorts of. No, my wife's computer just woke up. Okay, hopefully you guys. Can you still hear me? Chat in there if you say, yeah, power's still on. I have I've been working really hard, but at the end of the day, when I think, oh, I can only invoice for 2 hours, I think, oh, what did I do today? I really slacked off. But the reality is I'm working hard at my business, and there's a bunch of stuff like that doesn't immediately show, but is important and is part of me being able to charge because I need to support the other things that are going on in my business so that I can charge people money. Otherwise, I just don't have the infrastructure for the backbone. So that's been going really well. Thank you, Mary. Mary says power's still on. You thought maybe it was an earthquake alarm. That would be fun. Yeah. Live stream the earthquake. Now, Vinny, you're a little bit different than Mary. They can't hear you at all or see you or know that you're talking with an orange. Yeah. You want to see me make this orange disappear? See, can't even see it against this orange. Orange hides it. This is a nice orange, too. Okay, that's good. Yeah. I do not have the... oh, you know what? Something's beeping over there. I think that's my wife's UPS. I think it kicked in. Uninterrupted power supply, not UPS, the delivery people. I do not have my router on a battery backup. Not my router, the router that comes from the internet company. So when power goes out, I lose internet right away. A blue wall, yeah. Some people do blue screen instead of green screen. Got really interesting. I got some interesting news yesterday by way of an ad. There's even faster internet option for me here. So that's pretty exciting. It's a little bit more expensive than what I'm paying right now. Not too much, but it comes with unlimited bandwidth as well. So if I can find a client that wants me to back up their data, and I back it up to my Synology here, and I can get them into a monthly charge for that, supporting their business. And I think that that's great value for people to give them off-site storage and backup. Then I could probably justify going up to that new rate. Right now I have, yes, I do mean modem, but Vinny, the modem comes into the house, the fiber comes into the house, goes to a modem, and then the modem goes right out to a router, and then the router spreads out over to the office area or wherever you have cables running. And then here I don't have another router here. I have a switch which is attached to the wall over there, an 8-port switch, and then one of those goes off to a hub that goes off to my shop, and then there's something that goes to the VoIP box. But yeah, so you are right. There is the modem, but there is a router there as well. All right, that orange is dead. The connection speed that I have right now is 150 megabits per second down and up. I get about 175 down and up. This one that they're offering is 750. And then they also have 1000 that they're offering in some places, which is interesting because there's another company here. So that's through TELUS, a company called TELUS. There's another company here, Shaw, and Shaw might be a company that, kicking some wood there. Shaw might be a company that's in the States that you recognize. They used to be like shaw@home.ca, or your address would be at home.ca with Shaw. They just updated their internet to 300 down, but because they're coaxial, they only offer 20 up. So they keep offering faster downloads, but they're not offering faster uploads, which I think they're just limited by their coaxial technology. The problem is that with only 20 up, with not being able to increase upload speeds, is when people are using their terabyte of OneDrive, or they're backing up to the cloud, to Google Drive, or they're streaming like this, or they have a home video they want to send to someone, they put it in Dropbox, send someone a link so they can download it, and it's a couple of gigs. 20 up is just not how people use the internet. And I saw people in discussion that they were all excited about 300 down, and they're happy, that if you're watching Netflix or downloading stuff or listening to things, that works great. But as soon as you're producing stuff that you want to upload, then you need faster upload as well. So just imagine if in the phone system, when phones were crappy, and then one phone company said, if you use our phone service, you can hear really clearly, but your voice is going to be all garbled as it uploads. Now that wouldn't work because it'd be garbled for the other people. But then another company came along and said, oh, you can hear and speak very clearly with our system. And then the other company says, oh, stay with us because we've made it so you can hear even more clearer. But we're not fixing the garbled part. Okay, so Vinny, and I realize this, I realize talking about this. Mary gets 1.99 down, gets down. Yes, that's pretty slow. We know that you are in an internet wasteland there for your speed. And Vinny, you get 200 down, but only 12 up. Is yours cable, Vinny? Are you on like a coaxial? Is it coax that comes into your house? John, what do you have for speeds there, John? Because I know Europe's well ahead of many places. Was very early. Yeah, so Comcast, yeah. So it's probably, so the cable that comes into your house is is that silver. If you cut it, it's sort of like it's a mesh in the silver, and it's got the copper hard wire up the core, and then you plug it in, and then you spin the little thing that tightens it. I think that's probably what you've got. I know that Europe has been super fast, super ahead of getting fast speeds. I know that Sweden even has it almost as I think as a human right, or as a basic right for people to have fast internet. So, which I can see because of the importance. Yeah, that's what you've got, Vinny. Which I can see because of the importance of having internet access now. One of the things that people complained about when they see populations on the move, like refugee groups, a group that's fleeing a war zone, or like when people in Syria and Iraq were fleeing ISIS, and they fled. Well, where do you flee? You flee somewhere where you can. So they used the land bridge to Europe, and we know the crush of humanity that created. One of the things that people were pointing out was that when they would get off the boat, say they had crossed over to Greece from Turkey, and then they would get their smartphones going, and people are saying, "Oh, they're not poor; they have smartphones." It's like, that's the technology of the day for communicating and for navigating. And if you want to see where you're at, if you want to send messages to your family from anywhere, all that stuff has become core to how we live. It's not a luxury like 10 years ago, which was like, oh, he's got one of those phones, an iPhone that costs so much and hardly anyone has them. He's doing really well. This is how life has changed. And one of the things that can happen is that when something core like that changes, I think maybe this is the Canadian in me. I'm certainly there's lots of people that disagree with me in some parts of the world. I think it's important to look out for people so that they can have a seat at the table or have access so that they can keep up. I know there's some people that think, oh, well, people should just figure it out themselves and pull themselves up by their own bootstrap. But I think the saying, I'm trying to remember a saying, which is, when you have lots, build a longer table. There's room for other people. So John says he has the smallest you can get. You got it free with TV. It's a 3020. So, and John, you're thinking about getting fiber. Okay. You have fiber accessible to you, though. Now, I guess one of the challenges of fiber in North America is it's so spread out. So you want to bring fiber to Canada. Well, you have thousands of kilometers and tons of remote communities, and so the infrastructure and the cost of doing that is greater than if you were just to do it in a more densely populated country like many of the countries in Europe. Now, having said that, I know that there are out of the way places in Europe, and that they're not all jammed in like Hong Kong people there. So there are, but there certainly is much less land area and fewer rural areas, or just fewer areas in number to try to hook up. So anyways, yes, I'm excited for the day, Mary, when you get better internet. I'm excited for the day when anybody gets better internet. For me on this 750 up and down, if I find a client that wants something here, then I'll do that. Because right now, if I were to pay for unlimited bandwidth plus with what my internet is, it would be virtually the same price. But I may hold off otherwise, because what I've got right now I can live with. It's good. I'm happy with it. But also, I don't have a computer. I don't think my computer could handle 750 in, or can send out at 750. with the amount of video producing and work I'm doing like that, I do want to get a dedicated machine or a new computer to help that, because right now when I'm processing video, it's very slow and inefficient to do other things on my computer. So I was considering that, but that's not going to happen anytime too soon. John says, almost all houses have access to fiber. For about 10 years ago, the government decided that phone companies had to replace the fiber to all places. Yeah. Interestingly, here I was at the Chamber of Commerce. I was talking to someone from TELUS, that's the company that I'm with, and who is bringing fiber to our part of Canada. They are not, as they install fiber periodically, they're also installing, I think it's LTE 5. Anyways, they're installing boxes along the way in anticipation of smart cars who will need to report in and access things along the way to have an internet connection. So not only are they wiring things for fiber optic for homes, but as they're going, they're putting in the hardware for driverless cars now, or self-driving cars. Now, if you want to see interesting discussion about self-driving cars, go to my friend's site, smartdrivetest.com. He'll have a video on there somewhere about smart driving cars. His expertise is in, he did his doctorate on traffic law in the switch over from horse and buggy to cars in Australia, and which sounds kind of obscure and probably something that wouldn't be practical, but a lot of the thoughts and philosophy of moving from one technology to another in vehicles, the principles are still the same and the concerns are still the same. He doesn't think we'll see self-driving cars for some time now, because there are issues to be sorted out, such as if a self-driving car hits someone and kills them in an accident, who is legally responsible? Because the car is not a person. Is it the company? Is it the person who programmed it? Is it the person who was watching Netflix in it, sitting there and not driving? Who is it? And so there's some of these aspects that really have to be sorted out. So that and that might not be sorted out before the technology is there. John, you're paying a 1,200 fiber here costs about $45 US a month. Vinny says the United States communication companies own the government, and John and Vinny's paying twice that what you're paying, John. My 150 fiber is costing me, I think it's about $105 a month Canadian, which is, if we add 25%, probably about 130. No, 120. No, it goes the other way. Probably about 70. It'd be about $80 US. But this 750 that they offered, the price is 130 Canadian a month. Some special deal for a 2-year contract. The nice thing is, if it's available and you need it for work, then it's deductible. It's a business expense, so that's something to think too. Although you have to make it to buy it to deduct it, so that's something to keep track of as well. Alrighty, so January the 30th, John is going to be on here on the Watch Me Work live stream to show us updates, new features, changes to Hodameta. So that will be good. Yeah, I'm sure Mary would be happy with 5 up and down. It'll get there. I know she mentioned that there was some kind of cellular that would have faster rates, perhaps coming her way. Anyway, so John will be here on January the 30th. I did email someone yesterday, a couple of people yesterday about for lining up a schedule for Watch and Work live stream. So there is that. And certainly, someone yesterday, I think it was Chuck, that suggested somebody for a live stream. In fact, I jotted it down. That's not where I jotted that down. Yeah, Jarrett from Easy Layouts. If you guys have someone you'd like to see on here, grab a link. Grab a link from one of the YouTube channel, one of the YouTube rebroadcasts. Send it to them. Say, hey, I'd love to see you interviewed on here, or I'd love to see such and such a product presented. And go ahead and reach out to Tim because he's working on getting schedules going. That would be great too if there's someone that you want to see. And I think that soon I'll be able to nail down a date for Rick Spann to show us how to test Joomla 4. So there is that. Yes, and the Phil Taylor interview. Yes, I did contact Phil. So Phil was away over the holidays, and he was in New York for Christmas and New Year's. And I did contact him about today, but that did not work. But I have mentioned it to him a number of times, and so I haven't forgotten about that. That's just, and I've offered him any date that he wants to. I'll offer that to anybody if the date's available. There's a new. Oh, remember Monday I was mentioning about the new module, or the new BACN thing for Joomla 3 in the admin template area. And so I posted on Facebook asking someone who it was that had posted that, and they told me who it was. And I contacted them last night through their site. Their site is all in French, and I heard back from them this morning. They said they were excited and disappointed by my offer, because they're excited because they like the content, and they checked out some videos and like that, but they don't feel confident in their English. So they anyway, so I'm going to be in touch with them and maybe have a meeting, a voice call. And I don't think his English is probably as bad. I mean, especially if he typed out the English fine. But yeah, that's interesting because if I could speak a second language, let's say if I spoke French better than a little bit of French that I could try to crank out from leftover from high school French that I took, was forced to take. No problems there. I would. There's not it seems that if you don't speak English well, or you feel that you don't speak English well, people are a lot more self-conscious about that than if I didn't speak French well. There's something about I just don't hear people apologizing like, oh, I'm so sorry that my French is so bad. It seems like to be, hey, great, you're trying to learn another language, super. But when people English is a second language for them, they seem to be much more apologetic about not being able to speak it. Now, maybe they've had bad experiences, or maybe they think that English people are so uptight that they're offended by people that don't speak English well. And there's probably people like that. I admire anyone that can speak more than one language, and I don't mind struggling along or listening to people. Mary says some of the people she's thinking of are not English speakers. You're pretty sure? Yes. Well, and if they're not, they might have someone in their company. I know with JoomDev that when I was talking to Naveen, who originally contacted me about Asteroid being shown on a Watch Me Work live stream, he said that Chaitin would do it because Chaitin had the best English. He was a good English speaker. So I thought, okay, great. So, and of course that turned out to be the owner of the company. But I've since talked to Naveen. I since talked to Naveen on a Facebook call about something, and he expressed regret about his English not being great. His English was wonderful. It was fine. Maybe he was struggling with more to come up with what to get out. But maybe somebody, so maybe some that you recommend who's pretty sure not an English speaker, maybe they have someone who works for them, Or hey, let's get someone on there who will translate for them. That's no problem. It's all good with me. So, and besides, it's always, like they say at the Academy Awards, it's always a pleasure. It's always an honor just to be nominated. So you could float it to them and ask them, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But they might have someone that they know that does speak English that could show stuff as well. So, because companies in order to support their products do, I think probably many of them, even if the owner doesn't speak English, looks for some solution or some help to offer support. A case in point, so my client, Firewise Consulting, there's a course that is out there for first responders called Incident Command System. And so there's ICS 100 course and an ICS 200 course. And so someone in Canada who's working with some firemen in South America has a Spanish version of this ICS 100. And the company that has it does not have a way to host it online. So so my client was approached, could you host this Spanish course online? And our one concern was, how are we going to support it? So if a fireman who speaks Spanish only has a hard time logging in, or doesn't know what his password is, or needs to reset it, how do we support that? The company's happy to support with the hosting it and continue to help with this venture that the guy is doing to help them down there. But how, we're not going to translate the whole site into Spanish. That would be expensive and for translators then, and also developing all the pages. But even just if someone can't use it, anyway, so what we did was we contacted them, that fellow, and said, are there English-speaking firemen down there, or people down there who speak English that can help the Spanish-only speakers if they need help? And they said, yes, there's a number that can do that, so it's not a problem. And we said, okay, yeah, so we'll do it. Mary had the same experience when she talked with people all over the world at Domain Registrar. They all apologized for their English, yeah. Yeah. The other thing, too, that gets me is when I meet someone from another part of the world and I say, what's your name? And they say, just call me Bob. I say to them, hey, tell me, I want to learn your name. Because that's who you are. So, and then they say their name, and then sometimes I think, okay, well, I'm going to need practice on that. So I think... one of my favorite things about people from other cultures is the experience of humanity and connection that you have when you realize what you have in common with them. So my wife Susan and I are part of a group that brought Syrian refugees to Canada through a government program that we have here in Canada, a refugee sponsorship program. And so they're here in Victoria now. They've been here about 7 months. The way the program works is the group of us that came together for 1 year take responsibility to help them to learn how to live in Canada, get them going, and that's going really well. They came barely speaking any English, especially the husband. Hello, thank you, welcome, things like that. But there have been times where something funny happened, or as their English developed and we could understand them, they would say a couple of words and it was a joke or something, and it was a joke that transcended culture. It was just a way of convincing, and there was a connection that took place there apart from culture and language and food and dress, all those many things that are different, and religion, so much being different, but there was still something, that common element. And because I think probably at the core of what when people say, especially when people are apologizing for their English, these tech support places or people that we talk about interviewing, is that we have an innate desire inside of us wanting to have a real connection. And if we feel there's something lacking or something that's in the way of that, even though we might think, oh, I'm going to be embarrassed because I don't do this as well as somebody else. Really, I think at the core of that is wanting to have a place where we are accepted as we are, and where we can accept others as they are. And also, so probably being apologetic, like when we say to someone, I'll go skating, but I'm not really good, so don't make fun. It's not so much that we're worried about not being the best skaters in the world. It's we worried about that situation where we suddenly feel like we're not a part of things, or we're not connecting, or we can't get in as much as we would like. And I think a lot of times we look at our own weaknesses and we see them as obstacles to being accepted, because it's very hard to find unconditional love. Anyways. Hi, why are you in my chat? No special reason. I lurk. Let's see. Hi, what's going on here? Why, no special reason. I lurk in a few channels, but I don't write anything. I also don't watch the stream. Oh, okay. How can I make you leave? It's easy. Just type this into your chat. Hey, Commander Root. I like you, but I would appreciate if you would leave my chat room. If I see this, I will leave and won't come back to your channel. Who are you talking to? Oh, the bot? People exchange follows or similar things. Well, I personally don't think that a follow is worth much if the person doesn't plan to watch the stream afterwards. I'm fine with people doing it. Well, there's a bot in the channel. Oh. Commander Root. Bot. Huh. Interesting. Heil, you are still the Twitch guy in all of this. And another one. Host giveaway, leave in your chat. There may be some bugs, so maybe you have to rewrite the command sometimes. This will get improved. Interesting. Where are you seeing all of that? Interesting. What's this about? Fun and bringing positive people. Just chat in my channel and feel free to network and advertise. There's a lot. Ah. All right. Well, Hio, you have the sword, so feel free to do whatever you want with those bots. It's a strange, strange world, everybody. But you stalk their profiles. Cool. Yeah, I guess they I will leave it in your twitching hands. Anyways, all right. So, anything else for us to talk about? You think it's on? I think it's on me, maybe. All right, let's see. Thoughts on new pricing. Okay, new pricing on what, Mary? Okay, hi, I'll give it a try here. Where are my channel? Just look around. Let's give this a try here. See if he says anything back. We'll give that a try. Mary saw where people were offering monthly retainers rather than initial price and then maintenance. Maybe, okay, I'm going to get this too distracted by this. I think the dollar sign needs to go there. There we go. Yes, okay, so this idea of retainers is really an interesting one for me, because I was talking to someone at the Chamber of Commerce, and maybe that this came up, but he explained it this way. He's doing consulting, so he has a client, and he said they're really because of their cultural background, this client really likes to be aggressive and argumentative and banter and stuff like that. So he understands it, so he doesn't take it personally. But what he said is that he's on a retainer. So if someone hires, so this company hires him to do a job, he does it, the job is done. And so then he said, and if they want to do more business, they can hire him. But if they want him available, they keep him on a retainer. And he actually says he even charges them just to attend meetings that where they're discussing things. He says, because when he attends a meeting, he invariably gives one or two or three good ideas to them, and so he just charges for his time, and he basically says to them, he says, if you don't pay, then then I'm going to be doing other projects and doing other things. So Vinny says it's how he runs his business since the start. It's called recurring income. Yeah. So yeah, I definitely think that it's the way that I am trying to go as well with Joomla maintenance. And you install a site, you have the maintenance, but if you're offering a level of service and finding clients that value it, to be able to say to them, would you want how much? You want keep me on retainer, have me there available to work for you, and also I will, you can send work to me each month if you have it. I like what Vinny did, what Vinny does, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I explain this incorrectly. Vinny has rollover hours. So let's say I'm a client of Vinny's, and then I say, and he says, okay, I'll work for you. I'll be available to you for how much do you want, you're going to need each month. And I say, well, how about 3 hours a month, Vinny? And then I will send you content or things to work on. And then Vinny says, great. So then the first month I use 2 hours. Well, Vinny takes that one unused hour and rolls it over into the next month. So now I have 4 hours that I can avail myself. And then, but what Vinny rolls over hours, but no longer than 3 months. So if this is January, so if there's unused hour in January, it doesn't get used in February, it doesn't get used in March, it disappears. And the reason being for that, in that system, is that if you could have someone that doesn't use any of their hours for the whole year, for the first half of the year, and then later says, oh, now I need 18 hours done. Oh, they're minutes. Okay, you're using minutes. Now I say, hey, I want this done. I want my 18 hours. Well, that time is gone because you have to carry it forward. If you have 10 clients that do that, all of a sudden they're demanding 180 hours in a month, and that's not going to work. So Vinny does minutes, yes, and I like that idea. I have a client that I think the other couple of months ago I did some work for them, and it was a lot of work, and it was work that was needed to be done on their site and updating it and that. And they said, oh, I have no idea what I'm paying for it. And we had discussed it, and they did know that I would be updating those things. So it was a big update. And so I think what's going to work really well for them is to be able to clearly communicate and say, how much do you want to pay each month for me to work on your stuff and to be available to work on your stuff? And then if there are minutes that aren't used, because I like that minutes approach, I think people like that as well, because it's more of they're just paying for what they're getting, as opposed to like, an hour, if what does 15 minutes work count towards that hour? How does that work? Then I can explain, say, okay, so here's the highs and the lows and the peaks, but how can I support you in your business? How can I help you? How much do you want to rely on me each month for work? And then if it doesn't work out, then we will roll that over the next month, because maybe you'll have more. And eventually, if you're not using things, they'll just disappear. But if you find you're not using a lot, you can always lower it if you want. But it's a way to plan and maintain your own schedule and to know, hey, I have so much income coming in. I have this time blocked apart. And if it's busy, I work on that stuff. And if it's not, then I have other things that I can do, and much better for planning. The case study. Copy and steal everything. Vinny stole it from the phone company. Yes, phone companies with their rollover minutes. It is an attractive way to do it, because when you say to people, if you say to people, you can pay for a part of an hour. I have said this to people too. I have a minimum half hour. And this is an arrangement I have with a bunch of my clients. I'll say I have a minimum half hour work on a day. So if you call up and say, I need such and such done, I can do it I can do that work inside a minimum half hour. If you call up 3 days later and say, I need such and such done, it's a minimum half hour charge. And that is fair, I believe, because you have to take your attention away from something. You have to reload what's going. You're logging in, you're maybe asking some questions, you're doing all sorts of things, plus you have your expertise and knowledge that you're doing. And so even though it might be something you think, I could just do that in 5 minutes, it's very challenging there's the distraction and there's the mental effort, and there's also the value in the skill, because it maybe is something that would take someone else 45 minutes and you can do it in 5. Having said that, I say to people, but if you want to have a minimum amount each month, then I'll just bill by the minute. If you have regular things that I'm doing for you, like if each month I'm managing your backups, I'm doing this and that, you pay so much a month. If there's extra things, I'll just charge you by the minute and add it to your bill. And that's attractive to people too, because people want value for their money, and they can understand billing by the minute if it's available to them. I can't offer billing by a minute to someone that calls me once every 3 months, because what am I going to do? Send them an invoice for 6 minutes of work? It probably takes that much time to make the invoice. So, And as I said, as I've been spending so much time this week on my business with the new accounting setup, even though I'm not getting paid for that, I'm actually paying money for the software and that. Even though I'm not getting paid for that, the reality is that that's part of having everything in place so that I can offer this service to people. So that's part of the value that I am bringing, that I have a business that is organized to give them good service. Years ago, there was a fellow who was helping out with, and he was in an industry where they maintained a shop. He had a mobile truck with tools and that. And so he had me do some technical stuff. So he had a shop rate, and the shop rate is to cover just all those things to keep the business going. That's what it takes. So I mentioned about some. He asked me to do some computer work or some tech work or something, and I told him the rate, and he was kind of surprised by the rate, because he says, you don't have a shop, you don't have, a lot of the overhead that comes with brick and mortar business or service, where the van, the gas, the tires, the tools, the storefront, the whatever. But in reality, for those of us that are doing tech stuff, we have a lot of overhead. I spend first of all, we have our internet access, we have our computers, we have the software that we're buying. We're working with open source extensions, so we can't resell those. So we buy a membership and then charge for our time. But, we're spending a lot on our software to stay legal and to have a legitimate business and avoid lawsuits from software companies if they find out that we're, if we're doing business stuff with stuff that we don't own. We have a lot of that other stuff too. It may not be as tangible as a truck, but when we show up with a toolbox and a screwdriver and we're going to fix an Ethernet cable, or we wouldn't do that with a screwdriver, of course. There's a lot that we're bringing to it. So, yeah, Vinny says he has a minimum charge just to look at a problem. Yeah. Last month, when I was at the Chamber of Commerce new members meeting, real estate agency here in town, I was having problems with trying to live stream. So I mentioned I was doing live streaming and that in our little go around, and they said, "Oh, we should call you." So they contacted me and said, "Hey, would you come to our office on Friday? It's in town, like in the major part of town." I said, "Sure," but then I thought, "Oh boy, this traffic's gonna be a nightmare, and it's driving and it's a lot of downtime. I'll be there, fix it, but then it's going to take me half an hour to get there and maybe half an hour to get back, if not longer, depending on traffic and construction." So I said, "Yeah, my charge for an on-site is $90." And then I said, "I can probably, in the half an hour that comes with that, deal with the issue, and that should cover it all." So we need to have those minimum things. Otherwise, at the end of the day, a lot of the things that we don't get paid for hinder our ability to give good service to our customers. So, I could say, I'll take, cover my gas, $5 for me to drive to your business, solve their problem in 10 minutes, and then charge them $5 for the gas home. But I've missed out on, probably right in there, an hour and a half work that I could do. And part of the thing too is that I have to be mindful of is this balance of, I have clients that have work for me to do, but then I'm also looking for things to grow my business. And I have to be careful not to get so distracted by things that I would like to do to grow my business that I'm actually not doing stuff that I could get paid for. And so years ago, I was starting a tow truck business with a friend from the Speedway. And I had driven his demo truck out of the Speedway, and he needed a job, and we found this old tow truck frame. And so we thought, hey, if we restored that, we'd have something we could haul the truck out to the track with, but also it would be a business for my friend. And so we put a lot of time. That's when I was talking earlier that in the stream about the cheapest money lost is the first money lost. I had a point when I was only at $800 into that project, and I thought, oh, I don't think this might not be a good idea, but I didn't want to lose the 800, so I proceeded to keep investing in it, and I lost like 16,000. But once we got that truck going, and we were like skin of the teeth needing money, like we were just almost wiped out. My friend helped out a fellow at the Speedway who was going to set himself on fire in a stunt, but his cars weren't starting, or he was having problems with what was supplied to him. He spent the whole day helping him just to get things going, which was wonderful. The only problem is that he needed to be out driving around in this beautiful orange tow truck that we had made. It was an orange tow truck too. It was about this color. I got to pick the color. He should have been out there finding work and digging up work and getting the number out there. But instead, he had spent the whole day with someone who actually turned out to be someone who was a bit of a con artist and had even conned the Speedway about his stunt abilities and background. So, so the lesson from that, and the lesson that I try to keep learning, I try to keep firm in my head here is, am I getting too distracted by the things that are fun or helping others or feeling good for helping others when I really have to run a business and and put food on the table. And I would like to be able to grow things to the point where I can I could pay someone to handle some of the smaller things that I do, that I need to do regularly. For instance, it just comes to mind, I still have not contacted the person who won the monthly draw this month. So I have it all picked and I've announced it in the app, but I still haven't sent him the email I need to. So yeah, so that's, I'm glad you brought that up, Mary. That's a good topic for us to be thinking about. I still have not done it. I know we've talked about contracts as well, and some of you sent them to me, what you use. I still need to sort that out. Literally last night after Susan went to bed, I went out and I spun a Pokestop, so I get my bonus for today in Pokemon, and then I came home and I sat down and I just put myself on the clock for the business. I sorted through emails, deleted some more, created more filters, also caught up on some work and just did some things, realizing it was not paid time, but it's stuff that I needed to do to invest in the business. So, and of course, for those who are able to or interested in it and are maybe don't have as many years under the belt, that's why people are going to business school, to learn this stuff and to learn these principles. So I've tried to learn them from watching people who don't do it well. Fascinated by Shark Tank people when you watch that show. Dragon's Den's another one, and the Chamber of Commerce. I've enjoyed meeting people and seeing how they do business, because I kicked that thing again. The people you hang out with, stuff rubs off. And so if you're hanging out with people who are successful in business, then you can learn things about business. I wouldn't necessarily say hang out with people who are successful at business. You want to learn everything that they've learned, or you don't necessarily want to live every way that they're living either. But when it comes to the principles of business and being successful and growing in success, then certainly there's things to be learned by being with people who are successful and seeing how they run their business. But the other thing too is here we are on our live stream every week or a couple times each week, and I really enjoy the stuff that I get from you guys, and I appreciate that some of the stuff that I'm putting out there you appreciate. So that's good. So altogether we're sharpening each other. Mary says you like the Profit TV show. Is that on Netflix? Is that on what channel is that on? Or I've not heard of that one. NBC Business Channel. Okay. I'm going to try that there, I'll see if that thing talks to me again after you post it there. We'll see. NBC Business Channel. I wonder, is that online? NBC Business Channel, the Profit. Okay. Let's check this out here. CNBC.com, The Profit. Marcus Lemonis on Ben Garden's poor selling products. Don't ever make these again. Full episodes. Okay. Cool. Available episodes. Let's see. Now, season 6, episode 602, and okay, so this is, that one's locked. Oh, that one's locked too. So it looks like you probably have to have a membership. Thanks, John. I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, I enjoy it. Yeah, I enjoy the I enjoy that they're helping. That means a lot to me. Select your... Oh, yeah, you need to have cable to watch that. All right. In fact, you need to have a wider screen because I can't. I'll select one of these just to get out of it, but I don't have Xfinity, so we'll go back. And we'll go back. Looks like a good show, though. Be fascinating to find out what this product is. This guy should not make anymore. This is probably a little preview. Let's check it out here. Don't ever make these again. I want to see how long it is. Not super fast. Could be my computer. No skipped frames today yet. So that's good. On the stream. Do 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 do. So it looks like it's on Hulu as well. Okay. Another thing that I don't have Hulu. I've got the Amazon Prime. And I have Netflix. Okay. Well, I'll refresh that. Give that a quick refresh. I don't know if it's my computer. Yes, that's the Jeopardy song. Also runs on NBC. Here we go. Oh, content not available in your location. Oh, Canada haters. Seriously, if you hate Canada, what is wrong with you? Oh yeah, it takes some interesting philosophy to hate Canada, I think. Get a VPN. Yes, NordVPN is the one I would probably go with. I've seen it advertised in some of my YouTube channels. Again, just speaking back to business, NordVPN I think I get for like $3 a month. But things are budget-wise, man, there's lots going out right now. So even to the point where there's $3 a month, that's yeah. So I just keep thinking, man, I'll get some things going and I could, it's that awkward time in your business where things are going, but they're not going like, it's like a fire. It's starting to burn, but it's not raging. And when it's raging, then there's going to give off a lot of heat, and then you can warm yourself up even more by it. Let me tell you a story, because I know, especially Vinny likes those stories. This is, let's go here to this video here. And now this video right here, this is Royal Bay Secondary. If I go up to the back deck of my house, I look across the Royal Bay Secondary High School. And this was put out in April 15th, 2016. So this, hold on for a second, I'm going to pause this here. Okay, I need to make myself disappear. Okay, so this is a new high school. It's opened a couple of years ago. It's across the gravel pit from me. So this right here is the high school. This is the Strait of Juan de Fuca. This is the Olympic Peninsula over here. That's Washington State. That's where Mary lives, although she lives way down this way south. And this is actually looking southeast. But this high school, so check out the view that this high school has. All right, so we'll watch this video here. It's a
the first day that everyone walked in here, there was a culture that was developed almost instantaneously. never walked into a school and felt more welcomed, and people are treating the building with respect, because I think that they're proud of it and they say, like, this is where I go to school.
The students come in, you can feel that they're happy, they walk in, they feel good, so it's a really positive energy.
We knew from the day we even saw the designs 3 years ago what a great place it was going to be. There's a nice flow of the school, and the fact that kids have places to be or to sit or to gather.
So if we were standing on a landing, we can see into the gym, we can see into the dance studio, and you can see into various classrooms. Students may see something happening in one class or the other and be excited about.
I also agree very much with the use of orange in this new school. You won't be surprised.
What they might be picking as an elective in another class next year.
Like, there's so many new opportunities in a school like this. Like, they've created new theater programs with like a larger theater, and our athletic department has grown. We have a teaching kitchen, which is a huge add-on to something that we didn't have before. So it gives students who maybe didn't have something before something to join.
In the school itself, I think student behavior has risen in the sense of good behavior, because they want to take care of the place and respect it. Considering the schools they came from would have been built in the 50s or the 60s, and they're big long boxes, and this one here is so much more interactive.
I think the learning that happens in the school is a little bit more progressive, only because, one, I think the building itself is conducive to different types of learning. You will always find teachers who want to sit in front of their class and talk to the students and then have them learn. But I think the kids and the teachers are working together to sort of make it a collaborative process.
I've changed the way I collaborate with my colleagues because of the way we're situated.
Oh, I was waiting for something like this. So let me just show you. Right there, that's my house. out to school, across the gravel pit, up the hill, that is my house right there. I can look into this classroom with binoculars, but the police told me not to do it anymore.
Because of the way we're situated, there's no sense of being separated from other people.
Kids can spread out in the school and not just work in the classroom, they can also go out to their project spaces and work.
You get your assignment and you have like a group project, you just send groups out into these spaces, and I think that's a really positive way to learn.
So they look at the whole school as a place to not only socialize, eat their lunches in, but also work in.
Not only are students happier and more willing to learn in a building like this, but teachers are more excited. I think that letting youth develop in a building like this is so changing. Like, it can change the way that you grow up.
Yeah, so this is actually one of the neat things they did for this school was, because there are homes on a hill off to the right of this, so that these, and they're pricey homes, so that they weren't looking down at all just a blank roof of the school. They put this sports court, basketball court on top of the roof. The top of the school is designed so it's pleasant to look down upon by the neighbors. So you're probably wondering where this fits in, as many people do wonder when I show something. It is this. That high school was built, the day that high school opened, it was too small. And the local school board and politicians knew that that with where the population was going, moving, because we're in a really growing area. It's one of the fastest growing. Well, I think it's the fastest growing city in our, at least the city of Langford. There's a bunch that are just pushed in together. Fastest growing city in British Columbia. They knew that the school was not big enough for the needs even within the immediate couple of years. And so they already have outdoor portables over at that school. And they have, they've just now, after it being open like 2 or 3 years now, they are now just breaking ground, getting ready to break ground for a 600-seat addition to the school. Now, a lot of people have been scratching their head thinking, like, why on earth would you just not build it while you were building it big enough for even now a couple of years? That's going to happen in the next couple of years when you knew it. And I've been really bugged by that as well, because it just seemed to me to be such a waste or a lack of visionary planning. and leadership. But yesterday was mulling it over because I saw the story about the new expansion being started. I realized that probably the province, the provincial government and the local governments and everyone that has a part of funding it are probably in a similar spot to where I am in business. They're not new and growing, but they only have so much money and they can only spend so much money to get them to the next level, and then they'll spend more money. And that's one of the things that can really sap the energy out of a business or out of an organization when they're just on the cusp. Like if they spent a bit more, it would be so much better, and they could maybe even save some, but they don't have it, so they've got to make do. I think I've mentioned this before in the live stream. In Toronto, there's a bridge that goes from across the Don River and the Don Valley. It's a huge expanse, and the person that designed that bridge designed it so that if someday they put a bridge across that valley from Bloor Street to Davenport. I think it's Davenport. Across that valley. The person that designed that bridge designed it so that if someday they wanted to extend the subway line, they could just easily put it underneath the bridge. He designed and built the bridge. They built the bridge, and lo and behold, years later, when they did want to expand the subway, they expanded it. The bridge was already designed. They'd spent the money, and so they saved a ton of money of having to build another bridge and a lot of hassle trying how to figure out how to get the subways over there. Or in fact, maybe they never would have, and the whole city of Toronto would look different on the east side of the Don River. So all of that springs to mind when you mentioned about getting a VPN. I'm literally at the place where I don't want to throw $3 a month more onto the fire. Now, if I had a client that wanted to use a VPN and wanted to get it set up and wanted me to manage that for them and look into it, then of course I could justify that. But yeah, so over at the school, I'm going to cut them some slack because probably, and one of the things is the debt that governments carry. To maintain debt, you've got to make that payment. I learned a long time ago because I loaned money to someone that the bank would not loan to. It wasn't all that bad. It was to help them with something personal, but when it came time to ask them to pay me back, I had no control over getting it back. They did pay me back, so that was good. But they couldn't pay me back until they had dealt with all the other people that had the legal mechanisms to get their money back. So when you owe money and you have to pay your interest, that means someone else, maybe even more important, maybe even closer to you, is going to suffer. And that happens in our families as well. When consumer debt is ruling our lives and we keep making interest payments on stuff maybe we don't even have anymore, it really affects what we can do. So you get government that's borrowed so much money and is in debt, they have to maintain that debt, which leaves them less money to build schools that are a proper size. So, and then of course you throw into that all the politics stuff as well, because all the places that want a new school. In British Columbia, I mean, we tons of big earthquake zones here. We have schools that they know will collapse when the next major earthquake comes, and there is a plan to rebuild them, but not all at once. It's just over time as there's money and there's carrying out. So I guess there's similar things in our own lives. We think, man, if something were to happen, such and such should be in place. Oh, but that's kind of expensive, so we'll do it maybe hopefully later on. So it's priority and stuff like that. It's all this, government, as much as we complain about government, they're just dealing with the same stuff that we do poorly in our own lives as well. I did say to someone once, though, I think it was my sister-in-law, I said, look, I I waste my money too on some things or make mistakes. So it's going to happen in government. So don't get too cranked about it. And she says, yes, but they're wasting my money. I want to be the one that wastes my money, not someone else. So there's a good point to that as well. Alrighty, well, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Mary. And we'll just keep working on this together and keep reporting on our successes, not only in what's working in our businesses, but while we're advancing and doing things and sharing these resources. So I think with that, it's 1:07. We've just killed 2 hours. The internet is great for that, eh? I like the internet. I think we should tell people that the internet is good. There's so many people saying that it's bad, but there's a lot of good things, even just all bringing us all together. So people should be, the internet is half full, not half empty. That's what we should say. That'd be a great hashtag. It'd be too long. Anyways, well, thanks for tuning in today and joining in and watching and hanging out and contributing. Oh, Mary, you're pitching something today. Awesome. You'll let us know how it goes. Yeah, I'm excited to hear that. I hope you're successful. Marty says the internet is for porn. It's a song. Look it up. Nah, don't think so. But that is a theory. Yeah, I wonder who has a bigger bandwidth draw, porn or Netflix and streaming, or Twitch. I know porn's up there though. Anyways, yeah, so good luck on that, Mary. Hope it goes well. And success to all of you in your endeavors for the rest of the day and this week. Thanks for being there. Enjoy your Joomla sites, and God bless.